Hello and welcome to the presentation for Group 4, Assignment 3, Biases in the News. So today I'm going to introduce our team, go through our news sources and the context for this project, as well as the task flows tools used before a demonstration and presentation of our results, followed by a conclusion. So our team is Abhishek, Kais, Ankit, Hisham, and myself, Rachel. And why are we conducting sentiment analysis, especially sentiment analysis of the news? So this type of analysis is really good to help us identify biases and trends in text. In the news, in journalism, it can be helpful to identify political polarization. Many people have noticed that there's been increased polarization between the left and the right in recent years. And in Canada, we're maybe a bit better off than the US because we have 5 major parties who are at least usually represented with at least one person. In the US, of course, as you know, they only have 2 major ones, so it's a bit more of a challenge there for them. We've selected 2 Canadian sources, one left, one right. That's the Toronto Star and the Ottawa Citizen. And 2 US sources, CNN and Fox News, of course, one left and one right-leaning. The task flow today, Ankit's going to show us some data scraping, then Abhishek will take over for sentiment analysis, Hisham will show us some cloud storage, and Kais will finish it off with some business intelligence. The tools that will be used, we're going to use Python, MongoDB, and Power BI. You can read through the Python libraries if you're interested in that. And you'll also get to see some of them in the presentation and demonstration. So I'll pass it over to Ankit now to get us started with data scraping.
Thank you, Rachel, for the introduction. Hi, my name is Ankit and I would be data analyst in this team. So my job is to scrape the data from all 4 channels and clean it and then provide it to the guy who is doing the sentiment analysis. So let me just take you to my notebook. So this is my notebook. So in this case, I have imported 2 libraries as of now to pass the data. So these are the 4 RSS feed of 4 channels: the Star, Ottawa Citizen, RSS, and the Fox News. So in this case, I'm going to take you through one of the example, which is from the Star News. So in this case, I just using feed parse library, I have parsed the data. So this is how my data looks like. Then I take the entries. I'm interested in the title, so I took the entries column. So in this case, I have imported RE library, and for every data that is there in feed which has entries, I just want to remove these extra extra quotation and clean it. So I just print all the items that are there in the data, removing all the stuff. Then I try to insert it in the column. So I created a column name, I created a list. So for every data that is there in the row, I just append in my list and insert it in my other column, which has a name of description. So column is column name and this is the description. So there is another thing that we need to do. We have to prove that the data is latest. So in this case, there is published date of each of the articles. So if you see, this is the published date article, so which has the date. So in this case, I try to pull the data just to prove it. So that's the timestamp of each of the article that is there. So if I fetch data from 7th of July, which is 5 days from the submission date, which is 12th of July. So this is the entries. Then I have to clean the data. So what this will do is it will replace all the data set if it is there, not data set but the slangs which are there. So it will remove all the words which doesn't have any kind of meaning. So in the next step, there are few letters which have like the capital ones. I just want to convert it all the letters that are there into the lowercase so that it would be easier for the person. Then I need to remove the stop words which are there. So in this case, I have removed all the English words that are there in the data, and then remove all the all the stop words that are there that don't have any kind of meaning. So then I store this data into the description for every data, and this is how my data looks like. All of them are, so if J is capital in the above column. Now it has gone down just because of this stuff. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Abhishek and I worked as data analyst in this assignment. I performed the sentimental analysis on the news that were passed from different news agencies by my colleague Ankit. And first of all, sentimental analysis is a natural language processing technique used to determine whether the textual information or data is neutral, positive, or negative. I've used two measures in my analysis for subjectivity and polarity. Subjectivity is the float value that lies between the ranges 0 and 1, which tells the subjectivity of the textual information. Second is polarity. Again, it's a float value, lies between the range -1 and the 1, and it tells about the polarity of the textual information or data. It tells whether it's positive, neutral, or negative on the basis of its score. So this is the example I performed. This is a subjectivity showing for the different news and its polarity. If the polarity value is greater than 0, it means that it's positive in nature. If the polarity value is 0, it means that the news are neutral in nature. If it's less than 0, that means they are negative in nature. And this is a bar graph showing the number of positive, neutral, and negative news. This is the code showing the sentimental analysis on the news from the Stars news agency. First of all, I imported all the essential libraries: Pandas, NLTK, Natural Language Toolkit, Text, Blob, Word Cloud, and Matplotlib. Then I imported the CSV file showing the news column, the number of columns. Then I have created two functions to get the subjectivity and the polarity. Then I've applied both functions on the news column, and I have created two new columns, subjectivity and polarity, saving the values for the each news. And I've also created the word cloud or text cloud. It is the visualize showing the words depending on the frequency. Like example, day, health, fit, first COVID-19 vaccination, showing the frequency of the words from the news. Then I have created a different function showing the negative, neutral, or positive news, and I have given the labels also 1, 0, -1 depending on their nature. 1 is for the positive, 0 for neutral, and -1 for the negative news. Then I show the positive, negative, and neutral news. Then this is the same scatter plot showing the data points, showing the polarity and the subjectivity of different data points. Then show the number of news, positive, negative, and neutral news. Then I have calculated the bar graph showing the number of positive news, neutral news, and negative news. I've created this bar plot using the Matplotlib library. Then I've created another function showing the positive words from the most maximum occurring words from the positive news. Then these are the words, maximum occurring words from the negative news. Then I have saved this file as a CSV to the desktop. Then I have performed the same analysis on all the 4 news agencies. We have created analysis on the 4 news agencies. And then I'll compile all these in a single Excel file. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Hisham Muslah. Today I'm going to save our sentiment analysis result into a database. I'm going to use MongoDB. As we can see here, I have created an account on cloud.mongodb.com. As we can see here is the number of database, which is 0, and collection is 0. Let's do refresh to make sure it's current. Yeah, we have nothing. Let's get back here. So the first thing, we need to import the needed library. So I've imported this library from Mongo client. The second one, I've imported the JSON library. This library, we need this library in order to convert the data frame into a JSON records format in order to save them into our Mongo database. So as we can see here is the connection string, the credential for our database. So here's the first, I've created the first object from the database itself by using the connection string. Then I have targeted this database, so BDAT1007. I have created an object and put it in this variable over here, DB. Then I have used this DB to create another object for our targeted table, which is CNN. So in first step, I'm gonna save all the sentiment analysis result into CNN table. So here here's the use of JSON library. So I have used this library in order to convey the CNN. So this CNN here is not the table. This is the data frame that we have used in sentiment analysis all the way up. So I have converted this data frame into a JSON and took the values from it and put them in this variable record, and then I'm gonna insert them into our database table, which is CNN. Insert the record. Let's execute this and see the result. So I have executed, no error. Let's get back here and do refresh. So as we can see here, now we have a database. Its name is BDAT1007 with one table, CNN. Here's all the information that's related to CNN. This is the news, subjectivity, polarity, and sentiments, and sentiment analysis, sentiment label, sorry. Let's get back here and do the same for the second source. So the second source in our example here is the Fox analysis. So I have loaded the result from the CSV into a data frame. So then I've created another instance from this table. So I have used database.fox. So this time I'm targeting a Fox table in our database. Then I have converted them the same as we did from the previous section and insert them into a database. So this is the second thing, the third thing for the Ottawa Citizen, and the fourth for the stars. Let's get back here and do refresh. Here we go. We have 4 tables. This is the information of Fox source, and this is for the Ottawa source, and this is for the stars. Thank you.
Hey, what's up everyone, Kais here. In today's video I'm going to show you how I have used the Power BI text analytics features, specifically the score sentiment functions, in order to detect, visualize positive, negative, and neutral sentiment that we have generated during the analyzing of the articles from the news and the feedback of the website that we have worked on. So in this part, I'm going to show you the visualization part that I have generated. So the first step was to import the results for the sentiment analysis. So as we can see, we have 4 tables for every news agency. It contains several fields. It's the subjectivity, the polarity, the sentiment type, the sentiment score, and the sentiment label, which I deleted. So I have included I have merged all tables together in one table. As we can see, we have all information in one table now. I have added a new column. It's named the agency name. It acts as a filter, so to categorize which agency I want to choose and see the data or work on it. So as we can see, now the data is ready and clean to work on and visualize using the Power BI. So let's jump here to the Power BI visualization. I added a filter for the agency name, so the visualization is fully interactive. So as we can see, I have also classified the agency news depends on the subjectivity level that we got from the sentiment analysis results. So we can see that the CNN have the highest subjectivity level based on the articles that we have retrieved from the website, while the Toronto Star was the lowest subjectivity level among the 4 agencies in news. So next was the total number of the sentiment type, where we have detected positive, negative, and the neutral sentiment type. So as we know that the sentiment analysis evaluate the articles that we have read from the website, and based on that it return the sentiment scores that is ranging between the 0 and 1. So when the value is close to 0, it indicates like negative sentiment, and when it is close to 1, it indicates a positive sentiment. As we can see, we have almost 51 positive sentiment, while we have 21 negative sentiment. So after that, we have generated the polarity percentage, depends on the agency name. As we can see, CNN have almost 73.22 polarity percentage among the agencies. So the news article by the sentiment type, we can see that we have retrieved 40, almost 45 positive news, while we have like almost 15 to 17, 19 negative sentiment.
All right. Thank you for that demo. Let's go into a bit of a closer look at the presentation Kais has created for our conclusions. So on your screen, you can see at the top we have the left-leaning sources, and on the bottom we have the right-leaning sources selected. So you can see quite easily that the left-leaning sources, interestingly, have more positive sentiments than the right-leaning sources. As expected, then they also have fewer negative and fewer neutral. When we're looking at the US versus Canada, there is a difference in the positivity, but more interesting, actually, in my opinion, is if you look at the subjectivity level, you can see Canadian sources are way less subjective than the US sources, and we can see that CNN is by far the most subjective. But Fox News still more than double either of the Canadian ones. Of course, there's a potential that that's because the Canadian ones are more local. We did not look at that difference, but this is just one of the many things you could start exploring with this data and this process. So thank you very much. Please let us know if you have any questions, and have a great day.